Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Millionaire Mindset Mondays. I'm Jan Carmanico Reeves. I'm on a mission to make real estate investing fun, easy, and profitable. And tonight we have with us Roz Woodland of the better half, she says, of Woodland Realty Investments, where they do good and build wealth. So, Roz, you want to introduce yourself a little bit? Tell us a little bit more about Woodland Realties and
Absolutely. So Sean and I were going to be on together, but he is actually out doing some good, and I'll get to that in a minute. We are Woodland Realty Investments, and we started our journey. Well, we started our journey together, he and I, 10 years ago. And as a matter of fact, we just celebrated our 10th anniversary last week. And when we started, we were financially illiterate and had no clue about anything. And then we got some financial counseling, and I came around to the idea of buying a house, like a home, rather than renting my all-inclusive. And Sean always had a passion for real estate, and I was dead set against it. Dead set against it. And through education and understanding that real estate investing is simply a vehicle to do good and build wealth, I changed my mindset. I had a mindset reset, and since then have retired from my substantial position at Carleton University. And now I'm not going to say I do real estate full time, because I don't work full time. I play volleyball and I do what I want, but I have 100% ownership of my time now, which is quite delightful. And when I choose to work, it is doing real estate.
excellent. Yeah, I remember you told us that story when we were in Greece together on the mastermind retreat. That was
That's
pretty
right.
funny about not wanting to get into it. So,
Not at all.
no, no, it wasn't good memories. No, no. So, we were talking briefly before we went live about being the active partner and some of the things that are going on. So, why don't you share with the audience what Sean is out doing good?
Yeah, so we had a young couple. We took a chance on a young couple, and we got a co-signer. It was their first apartment, and usually I think they've been our tenants for about 8 months, and they were unable to make their rental payment on December the 1st. And then we tried to follow up with their co-signer, and it's a fake email address, which was a bit disconcerting. So we reached out to them before Christmas and said, we would like to give you the opportunity to end your tenancy. Excuse me, we will forgive you December's rent, and you can just sign the form, and we'll let you go. We don't want hostages. We want tenants if you're not able to make the rent. So she messaged Sean today, and she said that she would take that offer. And he went with the proper form. I can't remember which N form it is,
And
but
11, I
an
believe.
11,
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
he took an N11 to go into tenancy, and they signed it, and they agreed to clean up and pay us their outstanding utilities as well. But they would honor that, because Sean said, if you'll need a good reference, and if you do this, we will be happy, because up until then they were fine. She was a traveling PSW. She ended up getting pneumonia, and then she had COVID, and then she had pneumonia again. So she couldn't travel and do her job. And then she had problems with her car, and they had to let her go because her car wasn't working. And because she hadn't been working, she couldn't afford to have it fixed. So she moved back in with her mom in Ottawa. And, so we're okay with that, right? As I said, we don't want hostages. We want tenants. We want to have good relationships. And we want to be able to provide good opportunities for young people who don't have the credit history, that don't have the rental history, and we want to be able to give them a good reference, because when they weren't on hard times, they were great.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, we were talking about going through the LTB and all the issues with that, and what I'm facing a similar challenge right now, and what's a good way to resolve problems like that. And that's what active partners do,
That
right?
is what active partners do, right? I mean, so we're attentive. We try to have the good relationships. We try to keep them. So for us, one of the things that we do, as I mentioned at the beginning, that we were financially illiterate when we started. So we find that a lot of our tenants are also financially illiterate, that they have problematic credit scores, right? So we offer them um, the opportunity to improve their credit scores. We give them the same path that we went on if they want it, right? So we offer them the opportunity to build their credit scores, and we share with them why they want it, why they would want their credit scores to be 720 or higher, so that one day they might want to buy a house of their own, right? Because we have a couple of duplexes, and this one that I'm actually talking about, we are talking to one of our tenants about doing a rent to own on it. They don't live there now; they live in one of our other units. And so we're happy at this point to transition out of our smaller investments and focus on the larger investments, and to transition over to passive, because investing in real estate is excellent. And after a few years of being the working partner, we would rather transition into being passive
Passive.
partners.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and then so we're super excited about the opportunity of passing on our duplexes in rent to owns to again some of our tenants that have worked at building their credit over the last few years, and getting it up, and then being able to strategize with them about something that works for them, so that they end up being homeowners, because our measure of success is transitioning tenants into homeowners.
Very good.
Right.
Very
Yeah.
good.
So
Yeah.
it's not a money thing. It's not a number of doors. It's, what for us, right? What good is it to have to have all this if we're not able to help somebody else? And although we, as I said, we do help people, I know in Ontario, there's usually a lot of controversy about tenants that are on assistance. Although, again, we've taken chances before, because we would rather rent to tenants on assistance that have a better credit score than to rent to couples that are working, or families that are working that have a lower credit score. Because for us, it indicates that even though they don't have a lot, they are able to live within their means.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you have working tenants that have low credit scores, it suggests that they don't know how to manage their money.
Right. Yeah. They're not living within their means.
They're
Right.
not living within their
Yeah.
means. So I mean, you can have people that, whatever, make $200,000 a year, that have a credit score of 580, because they've got, a $1,500 car payment and a $3,500 mortgage, or, like, just, if they don't know how to say no, they're taking trips on lines of credits or HELOCs and all that stuff. Just because just because you have it doesn't mean that you know how to manage it. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. I know. I tell my daughters that all the time. Doesn't matter if you make, 100,000, 200, 300. If you spend more than you make, then you're never going to have any money,
that's
right?
right. That's right. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter how much you make; it matters how much you spend. Exactly. So, I
Absolutely.
mean, yeah. So there's parts of it. Certainly does feel good to do good in our case, right? But it also feels good to not have floods and
Absolutely.
and to
Absolutely.
find a paralegal to help with non-paying tenants and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to be said about both sides of a partnership, for sure.
Yes, and we were talking about that and the active partnership, and I think people don't realize how much work it actually is being the active partner.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that again, the hardest thing is the tenant. Once you have a tenant, it's great, right? You choose the right tenant, and they're going to be there for a few years, and it's no, it's not an issue at all. But finding the tenants, I find, is probably the most time consuming thing. Like, we have a pretty inclusive process where we're going to post on the various media platforms that we can. But then we ask everybody to give us a phone number because we start with a pre-screening call. So whether or not, so we might have, there was one time that I posted a unit in the summer and I got 98 responses on Facebook Marketplace in the first 24 hours, like overnight. And when I woke up, I was like, oh, sorry, this was crazy. And then, so even if you're like throwing in 98 messages back, take some time. Please give me a phone number where you can be reached for a quick pre-screening call. Then they send it, what time is convenient for you, right? When will you be available? And then, so, it's only a few minutes, but times 98.
Yes. Yes,
It's a
absolutely.
lot.
I use a previewing Google Doc form.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, same yeah, to see if
And we've thought about that, to be honest with you, Jan, right? Just to make it easier. Although we find that when we give people the opportunity to talk, we get a lot more
well, like,
insight.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, no, and I start with that, and then I follow
Yeah.
up because I get their phone number, and then I follow up with a telephone
Oh,
conference
that's a good idea. Yeah,
to
that's a good
clarify some
idea, right?
things, and yeah, yeah.
So we know that if we get the big story, like this big, great story, that we're sort of
Exactly.
yeah, and then we'll send them an application via email, application link, and they have to return the application before we'll do a showing,
Yeah,
right? And then so then we lose probably 70% of them at that point, right?
absolutely.
Yes, I mean,
Absolutely.
70% of people don't send it, the application back,
Yeah,
because we share the process. Okay, here's what's going to happen. You're going to send me back the application. Then we'll show you the unit. If you decide that it's something you want to move forward with, then we'll take your social insurance number. We will run a credit check and you will supply your verifiable income and, all
yeah,
the other stuff. So I
yeah,
think that that's the part where they're like, oh,
yeah,
we
yeah.
don't want to do
And I
all
do it
that.
the
And it's like,
opposite.
that's
I do the
fine.
form first, then the phone call, and then the viewing.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, so as I said, because we're about an hour away from our properties, so we don't want, like, without them having returned that application, we don't want to take the drive.
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
because we had to learn it the other way, right? So we just, oh yeah, sure, here we'll go, Thursday at 6:30 and
Hmm.
crickets, and we're texting them and messaging them, are you coming? We're here, and then nothing. They
No
just ghost
show.
us.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Like being on an internet date. being ghosted, right?
Yeah.
You're
This is all set up 3 or 4 viewings at the same time, and I'll tell them all the same time. Like I'll say
right.
6 o'clock because some will come early, some will come late, and some won't show.
Oh,
Right.
right.
So
Well,
I
that's a
just
good
tell them
idea
all six
too.
o'clock. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. six
Yeah.
o'clock off everybody. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good idea. We have to try that. I tried, um, on another one where we had, like, again, a huge response, and I said it was, we were living in the area at the time, so I just said to Sean, I'm going to do an open house, like, for the first time
I did
ever.
that yesterday for the first time. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and I
Yeah.
don't know about you, but I had so many people, it must have been 60 people, and I
Hmm.
just messaged them, open house Saturday 2 to 4, open house Saturday 2. That's all I did, open house Saturday 2 to 4, all the way down. One person showed up out of 60 that had responded. So I don't understand people.
Yeah, I know, right? I know.
How many did you get your open house?
I had 4, but
Okay,
I did message a couple of people, but I just put it in the at the top of the
open house,
listing.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
it was fun.
I and again, the only reason I did it was because I was so overwhelmed with the amount of people that responded. Because that also is an issue for me, because if there's whatever 60 people or 98 people looking for a place,
Right.
there's none of units anywhere, right? So I don't know if there are people that really are need a place, or they're just looking for a change, or what. I don't think I've ever had anybody who's actually unhoused reach out to us. But when you just see that, you just think, wow, we're in a predicament. We need units if there's that many people looking for a
Yeah,
place.
yeah. Well, on this new acquisition, there's two studio. And I don't know if you remember, I shared this story, the Z story about the lowest paying tenant that had utilities included. So moved him out yesterday, gave him back his last month's rent, and he was very pleasant and thanked me, and everything, and the unit was spotless, so that was great. Let the new guy go in today, didn't even need cleaning, so that was awesome.
Oh, nice.
Right? But because it's a studio, there was 4,800 people that clicked on the listing. I don't know how many. I guess I obviously priced it too low,
Right,
right?
right, right. That
But
that might be
I
an
I did
indicator. Yeah.
increase the rent, and of course it was plus utilities instead of utilities included, because when I was there, including yesterday, he had the heat set at 88 degrees because he's not paying.
Okay.
Yeah.
That reminds me of when my dad was still alive. That was what it was like going into his room in the seniors residence he was living and going like, Dad.
Yeah. But I showed this unit to two people.
Yeah.
That's pre-qualified them of all the messages, that I answered. It's lovely. It's a new build. It has in-suite laundry in
Nice.
in a
Wow. That's
studio, right?
fantastic.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a great space. Could have rented it at probably 400 times. This nice,
Ah,
respectable
well,
guy. Yeah,
yeah.
but yeah, no, and a lot of times first thing they'll say is, when can I see it? Well, but let's start with you. Tell me a little bit about who would like to live there. That's how
Yes.
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
And then I go into
Yeah,
the
because I mean, we want to share with our prospective tenants what we're looking for, that they understand the responsibilities of being a tenant, and that
Mhm.
because for us, we are incredibly responsive landlords. Like, we are incredibly responsive landlords. So much so that other property managers won't even work for us because they're like, that's crazy. That's
Because they
crazy.
can't keep up with.
Because they don't offer that level of service.
Hmm.
So, and that's fine, right? Because we're not for everybody. And we want to be right for the people who are right for us. And it's a relationship. It's like everything else. It's like joint venture partners, the tenant landlord relationship. It's a relationship.
Yeah.
So one of the things when Sean went to see these young tenants today that he shared with them was, you need to respond to your landlord. I understand that you're embarrassed because you can't pay your rent, but don't go silent,
Yeah.
right? And that that it's about respect, and it's about being respectful. And I really admire the fact that he was still helpful even under the circumstances when we're releasing a tenant with a non-paying tenant, right? That
Yeah.
he's still trying to teach and to help them because they're young, right? And they're going to need help. They're going to need help in this market when there's 400 people or 2,600 people looking at a bachelor apartment. They're without any credit history, without any references. They're going to need a good reference from us, and we want to be able to provide that. So
Hmm.
and to be able to share with them, you got to answer. Don't just ghost people because you're embarrassed about not being able to pay, right?
But yeah, and you know what? That's wonderful that you're still trying to teach them, even though, they're not
Yeah, I
keeping
mean
your end of
they
the
weren't.
bargain,
Yeah,
but
they weren't being jerkish, right? They were just being quiet and not answering what was
hmm.
going on because she had messaged that they were going to social services to see if social services could help. But the bottom line is, without her car, she has no employment. There's no transit in where this unit is, and she's moved back into Ottawa, and she actually got a job at one of the hospitals. So, like,
Yeah.
why would we
Because
stand
she
in the
doesn't
way
need
of
a
that?
vehicle. Yeah.
Doesn't need a vehicle, right? So we're
Hmm.
not we're not not ever going to stand in the way of that, right? Because you signed a lease, right?
Hmm.
That's who we are. right? But I'm not suggesting
Right.
that everybody needs to be like that. I'm just suggesting that's how we run our business. And yeah, because as I said, it's all about communication. It's all about respectfulness. Again, in joint venture partnerships, and we've had some good ones. We've had some not so good ones, and we just learn as we go. Um, that it needs to be upfront communication, JV partners, and it needs to be upfront communication with our tenants. These are our expectations,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's in writing, it's in email, it's in front lobby, it's in their tenant file, right? All of those things to say, well, here in this email on this date, we explained this to you. You replied that you were in agreement with that, So again, not trying to be a jerk, just trying to make sure that all the lines of communication are always open.
Right, right. And like you said, if they're not communicating back, then yeah, it's hard to have a conversation with one side, right?
Wow. And what I don't think there's anything worse in Ontario as a working partner who has a tenant that's not answering,
Right?
right? Because what
Mm-hmm.
happens when you don't give the information? You fill in the gaps with the worst case scenario. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like human nature. It's what we do. We don't think, oh, they're probably on holiday somewhere. Right? They probably use this much rent to go to Cuba and they'll be back and everything will be fine. Like that's not our first thought. The first thought is what? LTV. And it's fun
Yeah.
with the LTV, right? It's going to be a nightmare.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Which is, yeah, the last thing that you want to do.
It is.
Yeah, it's just not good for anybody because then it's going to go on their record and yeah.
Yeah, you know what you just said? It is the last thing you want to do. And you are 100% right. It truly, truly is the very last thing that you ever
Hmm.
want to do is to deal with the landlord-tenant board in Ontario.
Hmm.
Right? You
Hmm.
can try everything before having to resort to that.
Yes, but if, yeah, like you said, if there's no communication back and forth, we were just talking about this earlier.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, it's difficult to come up with a resolution.
it is absolutely difficult to come up with a resolution,
Mm,
exactly. Although, you have the opportunity prior, we've had a few rounds with the LTV. And one of the things that even if they're not answering, to unsolicited advice, that is to offer them, if they haven't paid their rent, is to offer them a payment plan in an
hmm.
email, even if they don't respond. Because then when you do get to the hearing,
Right.
you can say, I offered them a payment plan or to come up with a payment plan or to figure out a payment plan and they didn't respond so that you can show that you've done everything,
Yeah.
that you've
Good
tried
point.
everything to make
Yeah.
it right. So
Yeah. Good point. I'm gonna write an email after I get off here.
there we go. There we go.
Yeah.
Well, as I said,
Yeah.
it's just about like the experience, and you are an experienced working partner, so you have so much going for you. You've done short-term rentals, you've done student rentals. Like you're really very well versed, and so the roller coaster ride that comes with being that working partner. And as I said earlier, right before we got on, that when everything's great and all your units are filled and everybody's paying their rent and whoop, they've been in your units for a long time and there's no turnover,
It's
you're
very low
mountaintop,
maintenance.
like
Yeah.
everything's
Yeah.
great, and
Yeah.
then all of a sudden you're
Exactly.
like, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. But then you get three that are turning over in the same month and and there's expand conference and there's Christmas.
And there's Christmas,
Yeah.
or there's a milestone
Exactly.
birthday for one of your kids, or yeah, it's
Yeah.
all any of those things, and then your car breaks down. Yeah, there's
Yeah. Yes.
yeah. So good. My hat is off to you. It's as a co-working partner, that you're still in it, you're still smiling and still trying to make it, fun and what is it?
Easy, profitable.
Fun, easy, and profitable for other
Yes, yes,
people, even though
yes.
sometimes
For
it's
the passive
painful.
partner.
I know.
No,
That's what I'm
no,
saying. Even though it can
no.
be
Yeah.
not always fun for you.
No, but it depends on how you look at it too, right?
Yeah,
Um, yeah. And when I look at the situation I'm dealing with, and there's actually a couple right now, but then I catch myself and say, wait a minute. Okay, but who is paying rent? And this one is, 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 this one is. So, when you look at the grand scheme
absolutely. The
of
global picture. Yeah, absolutely. No question. I was looking at the gain instead of the gap.
yeah,
So when we focus on
yeah.
the gain, it's easy to stay positive for sure.
That's right. I got my gains journal out and put it beside my bed. I'm going to start writing it in again tonight to right to focus on the good things. It's
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So what comes next for you in
What's next for me?
2025? Yeah.
Well, um, Lida and Valentina and I are actually we're going to have a meeting on Thursday. We're working on a very underperforming building in Windsor, 12 unit, but it has
Mhm.
land in behind it that has lots of room to build no more units. So yeah, we're gonna have another strategy meeting on that. We've walked it twice and have a lot of background information. So
That's exciting.
yes, it
That's
is very
exciting.
exciting. Yes, yes, yes. And how about you guys? You've got building going on, eh? Or
We got some buildings going on. So we tried our hand at a land development deal back in, I don't know, 2022, I think, and it didn't work out for us. We were sort of given a little bit of misinformation from the township. We were told that we could build 6 to 10 units on a lot where there was condemned house, big old condemned duplex built in the late 1800s.
okay.
And when push came to shove, after we bought the property and we had it demolished and we're doing the site plan, they came back and they said, no, the maximum was 4 because there just wasn't enough parking. And then, so that wasn't viable because we needed it to be a commercial, right? We need it to be 5 units or
Oh,
more.
right, right. Yeah.
So we sold the lot at a bit of a loss to a builder because he wanted to keep his guys working over the winter. He didn't have it. He didn't have a project for them, and he just wanted to keep them working so he could keep paying them. So he built that, but we ended up developing a relationship with him, and we just bought it. Like we just closed 16th of December or something on a sixplex that we've been working on since August. That went with the MLI Select, and he is building several hundred more units over the next 4 to 5 years in this area. So closing in August, we have, I think, a 6, an 8, and a 12 uh,
Nice.
that he's building. So we have the first right of refusal on those, and so it's sort of it's been good, right? Putting in all the time,
Right.
being the
Building
working
those,
partner,
yeah, building those relationships, right?
building the relationships have been very, very good for us. And he also bought, I think, a duplex with a double car garage that he's looking at turning into a fiveplex, I believe. And so I know that we were talking to him about that as well. And so in those ones, one of the reasons why it's so interesting he's a very young man. He's only 26 years old.
Oh my goodness.
I know, and it's funny because I asked him last year when we had coffee, Sean and I and Madison, and asked him if he has any friends, and that might seem like a weird question, but the reason I was asking that question is because I have never met any other people of that age that have attained that much success that work as hard as he does. And
Yeah,
he says all my friends are older. And I said, yes, of course, that makes sense,
makes
right? So
sense.
I
Yeah.
wasn't was not trying to be a jerk. I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
any
No, no.
friends? But it was just sort of like, who do you have as friends? Because I had mentioned, right, it's not about, you can't change the people around you, but you can change the people who surround you. So I was interested in knowing who he was surrounded by
Right,
that
right.
would lift him to the level that he's achieved at 26 years.
Yes, it warms my heart to see young people that are investing already and in groups like Wealth Genius or Keyspire, just because I think they're surrounding themselves with people that have vast amounts of knowledge, and we all know it's time in the market, not timing the market. So if you start when you're 25, holy
Oh,
cow,
yeah.
where are you going to be at?
Well, and I don't even know how many units he's built so far. We should ask him that the next time we're together. But a lot. I know he's got, I think, 100, at least 140 coming in the next
Wow.
5 years, right? So, and then, but so when we're talking to him about, he's starting to understand, he's not willing to come on board as an equity partner yet, but I think we're
Okay.
getting there.
I was
We're
gonna
getting
say,
there.
are you partnering with him?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've talked to him, but he's just not there yet. He's still thinking like a builder, right?
Right.
Which is
Right.
fine, right? That
Yeah.
still works for us.
Yeah.
So, but we're trying to help him too, right? And then, so on this conversion that he's doing, and then we were saying, well, with MLI Select and the point system, and we said that if you do, he was going to do a large one bedroom. And I said, well, instead of doing a large one bedroom, why don't you do an accessible bachelor, two accessible bachelors? They're still a decent size. Like they still end up being about 550 square feet, right?
Right.
So for bachelor apartments, that's good. When I was in my 20s, I lived in a bachelor apartment that was 14 by 17. So 550 square feet is pretty darn
I
big
think
to
mine was
me.
about the same.
I know. It's just,
My
and it was
first bachelor.
fine. I loved it. I
Right.
loved it at
It
the
was
time.
mine. Yeah.
It was mine. It was mine. I had the VCR all set up. It was amazing. So, um, because then we can do the accessibility. Those ones are at the garage, so it's just like at ground level, we've got slab on grade where the garage is, and affordable,
Right.
right? So you can offer an two accessible, affordable um, bachelor apartments, and really serve a need, a niche that is hard to serve.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's
and then
great.
so he took it to his designer and he was like, well, that's a great idea. So we're excited to work with him because he's willing to listen. So that's why I was my preempting that at some point I believe he will be ready to
Partner.
be an equity partner.
Yes.
He's just not there yet because he is willing to listen and learn
Yes.
from, because we know the market and we know what
Right.
the funders want and all that stuff. So yeah, he's been very good.
Right. And I think that I run into a lot of people like that as well, who you want to help make money, how they can leverage their home or, all these things, and they're very hesitant because they don't have the knowledge and the education behind it. And um it's so hard sometimes, like you just want to shake them and say, don't you understand? Yeah. Don't you understand how you can make money in real estate investing? Right.
That was me.
Right.
That was me.
Yeah.
But right it was until I got into a room, a Wealth Genius room with about 30 people that, like-minded, that were very patient with me and my
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
on it. I kid you not, Jan.
Yeah.
That's how I went into that room. I was completely closed. I'm like, yeah, okay. And I'm here, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't want to have anything to do with those people, right?
Yeah.
And now I'm one of them. Right?
You're the promoter. Yeah.
Now I'm a promoter, absolutely.
Yeah.
When I would speak at a boot camp or something, and I would like literally stand on stage and say, "You
Yeah.
don't understand
And
how much of a miracle it is that I'm here." Right?
doesn't the story go to Roz that Sean had already joined?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. That is absolutely the
So it's a good
story.
thing
Yeah.
you got on board.
Well, it is, right? So there's a little add on to that. So this event that I went to was called the Ultimate Entrepreneur. It was a 3 day. So Sean had gone to a boot camp in December 2019, and this is now March 2020, right? So it's like 4 months later, and so they weren't selling anything. And I had said to Alfonso probably 2 years after that, and I said there was you didn't seem to be selling anything. And he said no, because it was an exclusive event for members only, and you were already members, you just didn't know it. We're going
Oh.
back there again, right? So
Yeah, that's so funny. That is
yeah,
so funny. Yeah. Well, it's a good thing that you drank the Kool-Aid, shall we say.
Well, it is, but I mean, again, it was just being because when you're not an investor, all you're going to hear is the horror stories.
Right, right.
You're only going to hear about the gap. You're going to
Yeah.
hear about the tenant that did this, and you're going to hear about the squatters, and you're going to hear, like, and and so I've learned to say that people are like, oh, I would never do that because, that Alfonso thing. That's interesting. Tell me more. Is that story about someone you actually know?
Yeah, yeah.
That's interesting. Is that like it? Not again, not as a jerk, but just say that's interesting. Is that a story? Is that story about somebody you actually know? Because it never is.
No, no, it's just
It
something
never is.
they
It's not
heard.
my brother. It's not somebody I work with. It's not anybody they actually know. So it's just like then, but who do you know that is successful in real estate? Because I can introduce you to a whole room full, and they're going to tell you about the game, and they're
Yeah,
going to tell you how when because I finally came on board the weekend before COVID happened in March 2020, and I was able to retire from Carleton October 31st, 2022.
wow. That's
Right.
incredible.
So, and
Yeah,
and that's coming from somebody who wanted to have nothing to do with this business at all to completely embracing it and realizing that it really is simply a tool for financial freedom.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's an investment opportunity that instead of putting your money in a locked-in GIC where you get, 3%, that's safe. I always say to
If,
people,
yeah,
okay, so look at the first house that you bought and what's it worth now? Look at your parents' first house and what's it worth now? You know what I mean? Like, it's
yeah,
real estate is safe. It's not
yeah.
risky, right?
It's not risky. It's not risky.
No,
Yeah.
no, it's not at all risky, but it's a mindset, right? And people have to, non-investors have to warm up to it, and um yeah, they have to learn that it really is a great investment. And
It really is. It really is. And it's just so laughable that I was so close to it. And now I'm, just telling, like, I just tell people all the time, like, even young people, they're looking for a house, buy a house, buy a duplex, right? Buy, like, well, people don't dream of their first house being a duplex or triplex or a
right,
fourplex,
right.
right? But
Yes,
if you're buying a residential multi, you still get to benefit from all the first time home buyer stuff, like the land transfer tax. You still get to benefit from all that stuff. And then once you're making money, then buy the
and you
house that you,
yeah, exactly,
then buy the house that you're dreaming of, right? But to
exactly.
start, because if
Yeah,
you buy that big house to start, it's going to take you so much longer to get your investment property. Invest first, then get your dream.
that's what I keep telling my daughter.
Yeah,
And actually, I don't know if anybody saw, I interviewed Robert McCormick last week. He's a local guy, Robert and Tom, good friends of mine. And when he got married, I'm trying to think when he got married. Gonna guess around 5 years ago. Anyways, he said to his wife, "We're buying a duplex, and that's non-negotiable." So that was, and she thanks him now. You know, right?
I love that story. That's a great story.
Yeah, yeah. Smart guy. Like, to get started,
Yeah,
it's a
absolutely.
short-term pain for long-term gain.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
and again, it's sort of that it's the same thing as I had said about tenants living within their means, right? And so if you can live, I mean, in our last house that we just moved from in November 26th, we lived in a 4 bedroom upper and we rented a 3 bedroom lower, right?
yeah,
And we had exclusive access to the backyard where we had a pool and a hot tub. So other than occasionally running into our tenants in the driveway, we had our own place,
yeah.
right? So Sean and I each had an office, we had a guest room, we had our master, living, dining room, kitchen, like we more than enough space.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that's, yeah. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about before we get out of time here, yeah, partnerships and your experiences, how you've structured them, um, good things, bad things.
Well, I think what we learn the most is getting to know people before even having a conversation about becoming joint venture partners. And we want to make sure that we have the same expectations of each other, that same understanding. We want to know what their values and priorities are. And so we will usually go have for dinner. Usually we like to have people or hosts we'd like to entertain, right? So we'll have people over for a good meal in the afternoon and then maybe go to their cottage if it's in the summer, to get to know them. We're not in any rush. We're not in any rush to rush into anything because it's like a marriage, right? We don't want to rush into that. So we did have one joint venture partnership. And although we didn't rush into it, it was one of our first ones actually, and we didn't have clear expectations of each other.
Mm,
And we're the working partners and we have the experience, and they were coming as a capital partners with the money. And so we hadn't in the joint venture agreement hadn't exclusively said that we need to be the ones to make the decisions on contractors and this and that and the other thing. And we
right.
don't mind teaching people if they want to know. We don't mind CCing them on all their emails if that's the case. But when you're now questioning us, when we have a preferred vendor list, we have a preferred contractor list, we have a preferred plumbers list, we have a preferred electricians list. Well, why did you go with this guy? I know this other guy who can do it for less. And it's like, we're not going there because you're
Yeah.
just going to slow us down, and
Yeah.
time is money. Like we need to, if we're going to go in, do a conversion, do a unit, we need to get in, get it done, get out, get it rented. Like that's the whole point. So we're happy to bring you along the journey. But if you're coming in with zero experience, you can question us for informational purposes, but not second guess us.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we ended up buying them out. We have another capital partner that came in because we just said, well, we're not sure that this we had, an agreement in place. We said we're not sure that this is working out for either of us. Would you be interested in getting all your capital back and being replaced by this other person? That
Yeah.
makes it
Yeah.
like
Yep.
great. And we're still friends.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, that was a good
so
call because yeah, it would slow you down if they don't have the experience and they're going to be second guessing. Like that's the
yeah,
thing is you gotta like chop, 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 and when this happens, what's got to be in line for the next, and yeah, everything's got to roll, and you don't have time to.
it's got to roll. We don't have time to
Yeah.
look at your brother-in-law or whatever
Yeah.
that's going to
Yeah.
do it
It's
for
not.
less because
It's not a home renovation. It's a business
yeah, exactly. So
decision.
there was
Yeah.
that, and then we had another. So depending on the size, in a commercial multi, we will set up a corporation. Sean and I are in good position to be the qualifiers with experience and net worth. Um, and then we usually like to bring on a capital partner that has a professional designation of some kind because the lenders look very more favorably on a corporation that has somebody with a professional designation, an engineer, doctor, lawyer, dentist, pharmacist, whatever.
Hmm.
Um, and and then we do a joint venture if necessary. We'll do it. Then the corporation will do a joint venture agreement with the capital partners,
Okay. Yeah.
right? Because then they don't have to they don't have to supply all of the paperwork that's
Right.
required to be in the corporation because it is a lot.
Yeah.
It is a lot, right?
So that's
So
typically how you do it. You'll set up a corp and then a
yep,
joint venture agreement on the side.
yeah, yeah. So we try to do the corp with as few people as possible, two ideally, like either Sean or myself and the professional
Right.
partner, right? So that
Right.
will be in a good, as I said, and then obviously somebody's got to be able to show proof of down, all of that stuff. And then we do that joint venture agreement and everybody has the opportunity to take it to their own lawyer. Like we have
Right.
it drawn up legally, obviously. And then we encourage people to take it to their lawyer,
Right.
right? So that they feel comfortable that it's written for the best interest of everybody. It's not slanted one way or the other. That they understand, the acquisition fees and any other fees and property management. They understand the structure,
Right.
and because their lawyers work for them,
Right.
right? And our lawyer works for us. Not that our lawyers aren't trying to get us a bigger piece of the pie or do anything untoward. It's just like, please take it to your lawyer. Probably at least half the time people are like, no, it's fine, because we've already established that
Relationship.
relationship,
Right.
right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
we know who their kids are. We've been to their kids' birthdays. We've had them over swimming, like whatever the case is,
Exactly.
right?
And they've seen your history too, right?
And they've seen our history.
Um
Yeah, exactly,
and
exactly.
your business strategies.
Yeah, we're pretty, that WYSIWYG, right? What you see is what you get. I mean,
Mm.
and I'm purple, flamboyant, right? I am unapologetically myself all the time, and not for everybody, and that's okay, because I want to be with the people that are meant to be with me, and that's, we want to be with the people that are meant to be with us. We want to journey through life with the people that we're meant to journey through life. Or there's lots of money in this world. There's lots of money. It's a renewable resource, and I'll say to some of my students sometimes, and they'll say, we just need money. And I might be careful, right? Because there's lots of money in the world. Do you want to do business with a drug dealer or a human trafficker or a gun runner?
Yeah.
Because they have lots of money
Yeah.
and they're looking for places to put it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So be careful,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Good. Yeah. Good point. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, you have to align in your values, right?
absolutely.
Hmm.
100%.
Hmm.
100%.
Hmm.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, because you want to. So it just occurred to me today, somebody in a message said something to me about the people who hold me together. This was was something that she said in a messenger message, and she said the people that hold me together. And given her situation, all I could think of was, isn't that interesting? Because sometimes we think that the people who are holding us together are actually the ones that are tearing us apart,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
So that's sort of been in the back of my mind all day as I'm putting around, putting the last of things away, just thinking like, isn't that true that, at a certain point that we keep thinking that, well, these are my people, these are my people. And then, once you have that mindset shift and then you look and you think, these aren't my people, right? These aren't my people. These people aren't helping me at all, right? They're the people that are holding me down, telling you, oh, you shouldn't do that. Like you
Yeah.
shouldn't, it's dangerous, it's too risky, right? To be able to
Well,
get
and
around those like-minded people that are
that's
saying,
right.
yes, you can do this and I'm going to help you.
Yes, exactly. That's
Yeah,
what they say. A lot of times the naysayers have the same last name as us, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why it's so important to have this community of like-minded people to
Yeah.
be able to collaborate on thoughts and ideas and partnerships and all those kind of wonderful things and support each other, which I love about this community. Anybody new that comes in, they say like they can't believe
Can't
that
believe it. Yeah.
how we like share information with each other, right?
Openly and willingly. Let me send you the
Openly, whereas
template.
most
You can have
businesses
this.
are like, trying to hide their little secrets and but that's not what we do.
No, I mean, I've sent out a redacted joint venture agreement at least 10 times.
Yep.
Here's ours,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
Here's
Yeah.
ours. Just take out the names and the addresses and the amounts and stuff and
Yep. Yep.
send us what it looks like, right? And then we
Yeah.
had another joint venture partnership, and just thinking about what's happened recently because there's been so much. Another joint venture partnership where the deal wasn't going well. This is us and one other partner, capital partner, we're the working partner, and they used their line of credit, and so we were paying like the deal. The asset was paying the interest on the line of credit, so it was
Hmm.
really taken away from the cash flow.
Hmm.
So when we sold our house, we offered to give them their money back so that we are now 100% owners of this property.
Okay.
And they accepted that because we said, like, you can take this HELOC money and you can invest it somewhere else. Like we know a guy, right, that does second mortgages, and you can invest it at 12%.
Yeah.
So you're still making money
Yeah.
on your borrowed money.
Yeah.
Whereas this other way, it's just taking away money, and neither of us are making any substantial cash flow off of this investment. So
Hmm.
are you interested in this? Would you like to do this? Right. And
Yeah.
then they came back and they said, yes, we would. So again, we just wrote up the dissolution of the joint venture agreement. Everybody signed it and cut them a check for $87,500. And right. And now the assets are. So
Nice.
yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that's what you have to do, right? You have to pivot. And, when the interest payments are using up all the cash flow, then it's not good for the asset. So let's revisit this and come up with a solution that's good for everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's great. Yeah, any other partnership woes that you would
Now we like I wouldn't, they've all worked out, right? So it's, as I said, we managed to maintain friendships. I know that I know with some of my students that hasn't been the case. It's, things have ended like a really messy divorce.
Mm.
And, like all I could just counsel, I generally tell my students when they start with Well Genius that I suggest if they're brand new, not to enter into a deal with anybody else until after module 9. Right. And then they go, why module 9? And I say, because at that point you're going to be experienced. You should be, if you're doing your homework,
Yeah,
right? You should be experienced at underwriting. And then if somebody comes to you with a deal, you should have enough experience at that point to underwrite it yourself so that you can understand whether or not it's a good deal.
right. Good
But
point.
before that,
Yeah,
you might think it's a good deal. And it's not even just about being a good deal, right? Because you have to learn to say no to the good and the great so you can say yes to the best.
yeah.
Is it the best deal for you? Is it the best deal for you and your investment, right? Could be a good deal, could be a great deal, but is it the best one for you, right? Are you going to get your money back when
Does
you
it
need it? Like,
align with
there's
your
so many.
investment goals, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And do you even know what they are, right?
Yes, yes.
And do they,
Yeah.
right? So again, part of our responsibility as a working partner is to understand what our capital partners, what's best for them,
Hmm.
right? Even though they may not even really know it yet, right? That we
Right.
can be that wise advisor to just say, well, yeah, I'll give you an example. So I took a part-time job early this year at a bank. I won't say which bank, but a bank. And I was only supposed to work 15 hours a week and get out of the house a little bit. So I have so many awesome clothes, right? And I work from home. So out
Want
and
to show
I
off
want to
your
wear
clothes?
I want to show off my clothes and I want people to tell me how nice my nails look. And, I unapologetically me. So I go and they're short staffed, so they're giving me more and more hours, and I'm like, no, I can only do 15. Like I have a business to run, right? I don't need any more 15 hours of people telling me that they like my clothes. Like that's enough.
Yeah, that's all I want.
That's all I want. There's 15 hours of people telling. I want like 2 or 3 people a day to tell me how
Yeah.
awesome my dress is. That's all. That's all I need. So but there was one time where this older couple came in and they were in their late 70s and they had $800,000 to invest. And they put it into what was called a high yield product from the bank that was paying 5.5%.
Oh my goodness.
So for the bank, it is very high yield, but for investors, not so high. And then they found a condo
Did you
that they
get
wanted to
fired when
buy.
you told them that?
No, but I kind of knew from the beginning that I would probably have an ethical dilemma, right? So then a few months later, they found a condo that they wanted to buy for $450,000, right? They have 800,000 in the bank. And their senior advisor tells them, you don't understand. Your money is locked up for 5 years. You can't get your money.
At 5.5%.
5.5%. So then somehow she had to go through to arrange for them to get a mortgage. And then they came in, they were so upset, right? And anyway, they got a mortgage for this condo that they wanted to buy and then left. And she came into the break room and she said, they have no idea how hard I had to work to get them a mortgage. And it was in that moment that I knew I had to put in my notice that I was going to leave.
Yeah.
Because, and I thought, first of all, it should be 100% illegal for the bank to offer a 5-year locked in product to a couple in their late 70s. What if one of them dies?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And they can't get their money because of the investment that they chose, no
Wow.
matter what.
And to put it all in, like maybe
Put
put
it all in.
100,000 in, or
Yeah,
wow.
I know. But it was just like
I would
she
have
was
got
just
fired.
in.
Yeah.
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 So she was just incensed that she had to work so hard to get them a mortgage. And I was like, they don't need a mortgage, man. They should be able to get their own money out and buy it in cash if they want to at 79 years old.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, I put in my notice the next day. So
You need to be a Walmart greeter or something instead. Yeah.
maybe, or I
Yeah.
simply wear those ugly vests.
Yeah.
I want to wear a nice vest.
You can dazzle it.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah,
like I did with my Well Genius T-shirt.
that's right. With your wings, yeah.
That's right.
That's funny. Well, yeah, I great story. I couldn't have done it either. I would have lost my mind trying
Yeah,
to zip it. Yeah,
yeah. It was
yeah,
hard. It was hard.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
I'll show you a great investment. Like, let me
Yeah.
show you.
Right. You know what you
Like,
could do with that 800 in real estate?
she, would you like to go for coffee?
Well, yeah, 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 yeah. That would be tough.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's an hour gone. Just like that. Well, thanks, Roz. Great talking with you again tonight. And thanks for coming on and sharing your wealth of knowledge and your do good, build wealth,
You
do
could
good.
build wealth. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, do good, build wealth. Yeah. Philosophy. That's wonderful. Had an incredible time with Roz and her husband Sean in Greece just in October. That was amazing.
Let's go
So
back.
yeah, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're just off to El Salvador right now. I want to go to all of them.
I know. I know.
Yeah. Yeah, that was my second. It was I went to Spain too. It was wonderful. Lots and lots of learning. So again, thank you for joining. Thank you to the viewers for signing in. And we'll see you all next week with another amazing guest. Any last words, Roz, before you go?
No. How
No?
about, let me think, just one. Plans go wrong for lack of counsel, but with a multitude of advisors, they succeed.
Very good. Very good. Okay, have a great night, everybody,
All
and
right.
we'll see you all next week.